A missing Sandy woman's body is found along the Jordan River.
We have confirmed that it was a homicide.
What investigators can tell us about the 75-year-old man arrested in connection with her death.
In addition to the warm temperatures today, I am tracking some thunderstorms, how long these storms will last, and what we can expect for our next heat wave coming up.
Plus, as the heat wave continues, what we're learning about Utah's warming trend and the records broken starting last century.
An annual Independence Day tradition is back. We're at the Freedom Festival.
Your dog might be as cute as Lenny. We will teach you how to keep your dog as safe as Lenny in the car.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13's Live at 5 starts right now.
Now at 5, we are learning more about the death of 53-year-old Masako Kenley of Sandy. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Amy Nay. Such a troubling story. Fox 13's Diego Romo has been following this one for us since Kenley was reported missing on Friday.
Police arrested 75-year-old William O'Reilly on suspicion of aggravated murder, desecration of a body, and obstruction of justice. Investigators say Kenley and O'Reilly were acquaintances, but the exact cause of her death and O'Reilly's motivation are still being uncovered.
As we are speaking, this is an ongoing investigation. Mr. O'Reilly will probably be booked into the jail later this afternoon. Our detectives are still pursuing other information in this case, so I don't have specifics on their relationship. I just know that they are acquaintances.
Kenley was reported missing by family on Friday after she did not show up to meet friends in Layton.
Our detectives immediately started working the case, and through their investigation they were able to track some of the movement of Miss Kenley. First of all, to area of Midvale, 7100 South, 700 East.
Her car was then spotted at the Sandy Costco parking lot Saturday morning.
They're still working on specifics and to confirm who put the van there in the parking lot.
Carragher says further electronic forensics pointed investigators to an area of the Jordan River about 3.5 miles north of the Costco.
Through the diligent work of our detectives, they were able to track Miss Kenley to an area along the Jordan River around 8900 South. At this point, we're still waiting on autopsy results, but we have confirmed that it was a homicide.
He says forensic work at the Jordan River scene is what helped investigators confirm O'Reilly was their suspect. Her husband, Bill, issued this statement Monday. He says, quote, "I want to express my deep gratitude to the police and to the countless volunteers for their help in finding Masako. We are overwhelmed at the number of people who have helped us during this difficult time. Your prayers and support have meant the world to my family and me. Losing Masako is devastating, but we feel blessed to have had her in our lives for as long as we did. We will never forget your kindness, generosity, and love." Investigators are still piecing together key information in this case, like whether O'Reilly and Kenley had arranged to meet up and the extent of their relationship. In Sandy, Diego Romo, Fox 13 News, Utah.
And Lieutenant Carriger says the autopsy is expected to be completed this evening. When those results are released, we'll update you here on Fox 13 News and online at fox13now.com.
The search continues for a man missing in Tooele County for the past 9 days. Mariah Morris says her younger brother, 32-year-old Rick Morris, left home unexpectedly on the morning of Friday, June 25th, and never returned. Rick's family is mostly worried because he is diabetic and left without his medication. The family is grateful for the help from the community so far.
A lot of the community has come together and helped us with flyers, and they do their own searches as well. Right now we're looking for blue pants, black shoes, hopefully Rick, but also hopefully not, because if he's out here, he's gone.
Rick's family has set up a Facebook page to update the search daily. We have a link at fox13now.com. And if you have seen Rick or know where he is, call police.
Time for us to talk about the weather right now for this long holiday weekend. Boy, we've had the heat, Allison.
Yes, absolutely. And luckily, a lot of people are still at home today, not working. But if you are working, this evening commute near the Idaho border could become tough as we do have a thunderstorm that's moving through. The strongest part of this right now is from Fielding down through the Tremont area, just passed over I-15, and will continue moving along with I-15 through the Honeyville and Bear River City areas. Now, accumulating hail possible, and also some wind gusts up to 50 miles miles per hour. A special weather statement for the areas highlighted in white, just east or west, of Smithfield and Logan. So it'll go until 5:30 p.m. For the rest of northern Utah, some spotty thunderstorms up into the UNS. We've also had some lightning down towards Escalante, just east of Bryce Canyon and south of Capitol Reef. That's where we have some lightning and more moderate to heavy rainfall. So what we're going to be tracking for the next couple of days, the heat. That'll be the main story middle of the week. It's hot today, but it's not as hot as it'll be the rest of the week, where we'll have heat warnings and heat advisories coming up this hour.
If you feel like Utah just keeps getting hotter, well, you're not alone.
Looking at a 100-degree holiday, we decided to go in depth on whether things really are that much hotter than they used to be.
Fox 13's Max Roth joins us now in studio with a look at what he was able to find. Max.
Yeah, you know, and Allison has been telling us about this. So I went through the data from 1910 until now. Utah clearly is seeing hotter days and, just as significantly, warmer nights. I'll show you with 3 quick charts. All of these readings are from Salt Lake City International, the temperatures from the National Weather Service, and NOAA. What you see is the overall average high and low temperatures here over entire decades, from 1950 to 2020. The average high is just over 1 degree hotter, but look at those average lows, 5 degrees over what they were in the 1960s. And now let's get to the hottest days. Since 1950, the Salt Lake Airport has had 265 100-degree days. This pie chart shows when we've had them in the last 70 years. Since 2000, we've had more than 80 per decade. Before that, we topped out at 63 scorchers a decade. And now to the records for every day between June and September since 1910. On the left, you see how many daily records each decade still holds. On the right, you see that averaged out per year. Last decade, we averaged 3.6 new summer records every year. This year, we've already set 5. And Allison tells us we may be seeing more of those records soon. These things do fluctuate, of course. The 1960s saw more severe temperatures than the 50s or the 70s. But since then, the story has been a trajectory of temperatures edging up and up, with some acceleration in this century. Live in studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Caught on camera, these dramatic images of a trailer that went up in flames overnight at Bullfrog Marina there at Lake Powell. The trailer burned to the ground. Authorities believe it may have been caused by an air conditioning malfunction. Fortunately, in this case, no one was hurt.
Bear Lake County, Idaho is reporting the first ever mosquito testing positive for the deadly West Nile virus. The Southeastern Idaho Public Health Department is warning people living in the county and those visiting to wear a mosquito repellent. Other ways to avoid an infection include wearing pants and long sleeve shirts while you're outside, removing standing water, and making sure your home's screens are clean and clear of tears. Symptoms for the virus can take up to 2 weeks to appear and include fever, headaches, body aches, vomiting, eye pain, and sometimes swollen lymph glands or a skin rash. Doctors say 80% of people infected will not show any signs of the virus.
Police have a woman in custody who they believe started several fires around Kaysville. Police say 35-year-old Tawny Hutchings intentionally started 5 different fires around the city. No word yet on why she did this. Hutchings faces 3 cases of reckless burning and 2 cases of arson.
It has been a busy weekend at Salt Lake International Airport. Thousands of travelers are coming home after the holiday weekend.
Feels wonderful to just be with family again and spend time at the pool and watch fireworks and all the usual stuff, getting back to normal.
The airport expected about 25,000 passengers to come through today. We'll get a final count by tomorrow, but that's about what they saw in 2019.
This is the first time I've flown since the pandemic, and it was weird coming in and having a new airport and having to wear masks, but overall it was relatively a good experience. Most people are good about wearing their masks, and I'm not too concerned.
Now, if you're picking someone up at the airport, remember, you cannot park on the side of the road leading up to the terminals. Police will warn you first and then ticket you. It's best to use the park and wait lot provided.
Now, nationwide, the TSA saw 2,196,411 travelers on Friday. That's compared to only 466,699 on the same Friday in 2020. Yesterday, the TSA saw 1,681,896 passengers. All the numbers right there on your screen. July 4th of last year only saw 732,123. So a big increase from last 4th of July, and even higher travel numbers are expected today.
Still to come, the housing market continues to be difficult to navigate, but now it's becoming hard for some people to even buy an entry-level home. We'll explain why.
Plus, what one police department in Utah is doing to encourage young people to join the force. We'll be right back.
Tonight will be the last night you can legally light fireworks in unrestricted areas of Utah. As of 11 p.m., fireworks will be illegal again until Pioneer Day weekend. Now, if you are going to light fireworks, the Unified Fire Authority is reminding you to wait for the spent fireworks to cool down before placing them in your trash can. In fact, it's best to put them in a bucket of water before putting them in the trash.
Volunteers in Lehigh working to clean up after last night's celebration. They were at Olympic Park picking up fireworks debris this morning. The city designated fireworks to be set off exclusively in its parks to reduce the risk of accidentally starting new fires. Volunteers say these safety measures are needed after the fires that threatened Lehigh just last year.
Last night we had real concerns about fire risk, especially last year with the fires in Traverse Mountain. And so the city wanted to make sure that we were able to light fireworks safely, so they opened up the parks.
Olympic Park also had a number of volunteer firefighters and police officers watching over last night's festivities.
There is anger online from parents after a prank forced a Spanish Fork park to close a beloved water feature. In a Facebook post, Spanish Fork City said someone poured soap into the tank for the Adventure Heights All Abilities Park splash pad. They have been forced to close that pad until cleaning crews can get all the soap out of the system and refill the tank.
The Park City Police Department introducing teens to a possible career in law enforcement with their new cadet program. If you are between ages 14 and 20 and thinking about a possible career in law enforcement or just want to learn more, Police Cadets in Park City, the Park City Police Cadets program could be for you. To learn more and to apply, you can go to fox13now.com.
Still to come, more bodies have been found in the Surfside, Florida condo tower collapse now that the entire building has been demolished. What crews face now, more than a week after the structure came down.
National headlines for you right now, and the search continues for 118 people still unaccounted for in the Surfside condo building collapse in Florida.
Search crews have pulled 3 more bodies out of the rubble. The death toll now stands at 27.
Isabel Rosales reports on the renewed hopes for progress after the planned demolition of what remained of that building.
Crews are sifting through the rubble again. The search momentarily paused Sunday night when what was left of Champlain Tower South demolished. Survivors had not been allowed back in. Valuables and priceless photographs lost inside their demolished condos.
To lose your home and all your belongings in this manner is a great loss.
But officials believe taking down the rest of the building would allow search crews to access more of the site safely.
As we speak, the teams are working on that part of the pile that was not accessible before the building was demolished. The standing structure also posed a threat to public health and safety, particularly as the storm approached.
Crews are not only fighting against unstable and dangerous conditions, but time.
I said to the families 2 days ago that the chances to find somebody alive is close to 0. I'm realistic, but we are still full of hope.
Meanwhile, turning to the investigation, experts have not yet determined an official cause of the disaster. But documents obtained by CNN shining new light into urgent conversations about the costly repairs the building needed in the months leading up to the collapse. One presentation to residents highlighted damage to the concrete in the garage from 40 years of water intrusion.
If we find out that this was entirely avoidable, which, because of action or inaction, it makes it just so much more acute and so important for us to act.
I'm Isabel Rosales reporting.
In world news, the first phase of Canada's gradual border reopening began today. Canadians, permanent residents, international students, and other essential travelers who are fully vaccinated will not or do not need to quarantine in a hotel for 14 days. Instead, they will take a test on arrival and await the result in self-isolation at home. Youth under 18 and adult dependents traveling with their parents will be able to avoid quarantine inside a hotel, but they'll still have to isolate at home for 14 days.
I don't think it's a huge problem. Clearly, children can be infected. They can be asymptomatically infected. But again, I think there's not going to be a large number of people.
Under the new rules, tourism is still prohibited, as is any non-essential travel to Canada. There are also no changes for partially vaccinated individuals. The next stage of the border reopening could come as early as July 21st, when the current U.S.-Canada border restrictions expire.
Well, the Delta variant is fueling a rise of COVID-19 cases in England, but the British government is still planning to ease restrictions there. Starting next week, people in England will no longer be required by law to wear a face mask in indoor public spaces. Prime Minister Boris Johnson also announced plans to end social distancing protocols.
As we predicted in the roadmap in February, we're seeing cases rise fairly rapidly. There could be 50,000 cases detected per day by the 19th. And again, as we predicted, we're seeing rising hospital admissions, and we must reconcile ourselves, sadly, to more deaths from COVID.
Many experts have warned against lifting restrictions with the current surge of the Delta variant in the UK.
Pope Francis is recovering after an operation to remove half of his colon. The Vatican says the Pope's surgery went well and that he is conscious and in good spirits. Doctors say recurring diverticulitis can be painful and lead to internal bleeding. The Vatican expects the Pope to be in the hospital about a week.
State employees are being told to pivot to remote working on Tuesday and Wednesday due to bad air quality. Under a new law passed by the legislature, state government employees are designated by whether they have the ability to telework to help cut down on vehicle emissions. The law was designed to encourage private business to do the same.
Well, I'll tell you what, with the hot temperatures come increased ozone in the atmosphere, and that is what we always worry about in the summertime.
Yes, plus monsoon season upon us now that we're in July, and we have a lot of heat in the forecast, more record temperatures. For right now, the primary concern, we've got our strongest thunderstorm across far northern Utah. So I want to go ahead and I want to track this for you, especially if you're going to be along I-15 in the Tremonton area. So Plymouth down through Tremonton towards Bear River City, that's where we have a special weather statement. We could have accumulating hail, pea-sized hail, and also wind up to 50 miles per hour. So just west of Logan, if you look out your door, there's a good chance you can see this storm on your doorstep. Here along the Wasatch Front, we are mostly dry right now. A few sprinkles up in the mountains, but tracking the main concerns of the lightning and the hail here across Utah. Also, we had a storm that moved over Bear Lake about 2 hours ago, and we had some choppy waters with that. Right now, just on the south end of Capitol Reef, that's where we have a little bit of lightning and some moderate rainfall. Moved to the Bryce Canyon area not too long ago, about 45 minutes to an hour ago. What we can expect for tomorrow is still the chance for a few thunderstorms, mostly to our east and to our west. But Bryce Canyon, Grand, the view, you normally can see gorgeous off in the distance. But with the cloud cover today and a little bit of rain, you couldn't quite see it. Here in Salt Lake, no clouds really, just a few out there. 96 degrees here in Salt Lake City off to our north. That's where the most of the clouds are currently. Temperatures here across the state, it's about 90 to 100. It's breezy. Our wind here in Salt Lake is about 20 miles per hour. We have very hot temperatures in our extended forecast. So for tomorrow, the storm threat brings most of the thunderstorms into Colorado. Could see a few popping up near the Nevada border, but here's what you can expect for the morning in Salt Lake City. It'll be around 70 degrees into the mid 80s by 10 a.m. So it'll be another hot day tomorrow. Highs tomorrow will end up being around 100 degrees, so we're going to have a lot of sunshine and temperatures that'll be above average for the next week. Through at least the middle of July, we're going to have near record temperatures for many of those days. And for overnight temps, it'll be around 60 to 70 overnight, so not much relief for the cooling in the overnight hours. And then for tomorrow afternoon, it'll be about 90 to 100. So similar to today, but just turn that temperature knob up just a little bit. Futurecast here across the west. What I want to point out is we'll have a few of those thunderstorms off to our east tomorrow, and then for Florida, tracking Elsa, which will bring most of the problems on the west coast of Florida. Now for St. George, your temperatures tomorrow will be close to 110. You're close to 110 to 115 for your entire 7-day forecast. So very hot temperatures on tap. You'll have an excessive heat warning from Wednesday through Sunday. And for the Wasatch Front, about 100 to 105 for the next week. Coming up later in the hour, we'll talk more about what you can expect beyond the 7-day forecast. How long will these hot temperatures last? The answer coming up.
Coming up after the break.
As Utah and other parts of the country continue to be in a treacherous drought.
Yeah, if you know a good plumber, send him out here. We got a leak.
Some places are letting water go to waste. What some people are wanting the government to do to solve the problem.
Well, it's great to have everybody back. I think there's a lot of excitement.
And it's a big celebration in Provo as people gather together to celebrate America during the Freedom Festival parade. We'll take you there. In today's Money Watch, the cost of a round of drinks may get more expensive.
That's because makers of wine, beer, and spirits could start passing along higher costs. The Wall Street Journal reports companies have been absorbing price increases for everything from cardboard to transportation. But if the inflation continues, booze makers may eventually have to hike prices. One Atlanta brewer says the cost of moving a truckload of beer has doubled to about $2,000, partly due to a lack of drivers.
Buying a house is proving tough for people looking small. The Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, or Freddie Mac, says the supply of entry-level homes, those under 1,400 square feet, is at a 5-decade low. The lack of supply driving up prices and competition for the homes that are there on the market. Data from the National Association of Home Builders shows new construction is giving priority to higher square footage for single-family homes.
Video game giants such as EA and Take-Two are seeing a mobile future. After seeing profits spike during the pandemic, they're now buying up studios focused on mobile games, betting that people will still play even when they can get out of the house. Research firm PitchBook Data Inc. says gaming companies in the U.S. have already spent more on mergers and acquisitions for mobile gaming studios this year than in all of 2020.
Still ahead in our next half hour, you may want to take your dog or cat on the road with you and your family this summer, but how can you keep them safe? We're going to take a closer look at that.
And the 4th of July festivities don't stop on Independence Day. We'll show you some of the patriotic celebrations happening along the Wasatch Front today.
Just a lot of energy and excitement because it's their first time out, and we just sense that everyone's ready.
Oh, everyone was ready. Utah celebrating the 4th of July in a big way earlier today. It was the Freedom Festival's Grand Parade, which returned to Provo.
As Fox 13's Ben Winslow reports, it was another sign of things returning to new normal as we emerge from the pandemic.
People lined University Avenue in Provo to celebrate Independence Day at the Freedom Festival's Grand Parade.
Well, it's great to have everybody back. I think there's a lot of excitement.
The parade is one of the largest in the state. Police estimate more than 300,000 attended this year. The city says that's the largest crowd in 6 years. The entire Freedom Festival was canceled last year because of COVID-19. While this is another sign of things returning, the parade's Grand Marshal, former Governor Gary Herbert, reminded people the pandemic is not over yet.
We still need to, I think, keep our guard up. We got to make sure we get vaccinated. I know some people don't want to do that, but I think that the odds are better if you get vaccinated as far as your future health. So I think that's common sense.
But for many along the parade route,
we're super excited. You know, we're super happy to be here. God bless USA.
It's a holiday tradition they're embracing again.
We missed this last year. We love this. We come every year. It's so fun to see everyone out, all the crowds.
It is so great to see everybody's smiling faces again.
And political leaders here had something else to celebrate. We made it through a weekend with no major wildfires.
We have got people up on the fire roads with binoculars. We are all over this.
Provo Mayor Michelle Kafusi says she's glad Utahns are heeding warnings about fireworks and drought.
Happy 4th of July and God bless America.
In Provo, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The Colonial Heritage Festival is going on today in Orem. It has several different events, including lessons on how to use an 18th century printing press, traditional colonial dining, and the firing of a cannonball. With all its activities, the festival's organizers say it's something everyone can enjoy.
It's an interactive experience for anyone, small to large, old, young, you name it. Wow, it's just a great experience.
This is the Colonial Heritage Festival's 12th year in Orem. Since its start, it has grown to be the largest colonial heritage festival west of the Mississippi River.
Also going on today, visitors to This Is the Place Heritage Park were able to celebrate Independence Day and see how things used to be, get a taste of the pioneer life. The park is known for giving people a chance to step back into history here of our state. It hosted Liberty Days this weekend. Visitors enjoyed pioneer dancing, watermelon eating contests, and a few other rustic events.
It's very interesting to see the methods that they've used because it's very different, and you know, there's a big evolution of what they used to do.
Today was the last day for Liberty Days, but This Is the Place Heritage Park is open all year round with activities and trail rides. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to fox13now.com.
As a parent, you probably make sure your children are buckled up when you get in the car. But what about that other member of your family, your dog? AAA says 84% of them are riding unrestrained. Fox 13's Brian Champagne shows how in a crash, that can hurt not only your dog, but you.
Let's go to the store, Len.
Lenny is going for a ride.
That's kennel.
In his $350 kennel.
I thought it was well worth it for my little family member in here.
Doggy mama Joan Kleinke bought the Subaru because the kennel could stay out of the rear crumple zone. And Lenny seems to like it.
He's very calm, cool, and collected. He's not whimpering. He's probably curled up, snoozing. And I'm in a safe place to drive.
Last week, this Jeep went into the Logan River. Neither dog nor driver was hurt, and UHP says the dog was not a factor in the crash. But Sergeant Brenchley says he's seen his share of doggy distractions this summer.
Individual was all over the road, went into the oncoming lane. Once he was stopped, he admitted that he had a new dog that was climbing all over his lap, wanted to climb and look out the driver's side window, climbing to the other window, and he didn't have control over it.
Besides interference, there's the potential for injuries.
Flying objects, flying bugs could take out an eye.
And death. This head-on in 2015 killed the driver of a Subaru and her two dogs. UHP could only speculate if the dogs were a distraction. The Center for Pet Safety crash tests pet restraints. They say tether extensions make crashes worse for dogs, and most fail CPS tests. That's why Kleinke went with their top-rated kennel.
There's another reason to keep your pet restrained in the car. In a crash, your dog will come forward, hitting you with exponential force.
The physics of a crash, you add the speed and the momentum and whatever else that factors into the crash. If that dog gets thrown into a human being, then it could kill the human being and the dog.
AAA says a 10-pound dog in a 30-mile-per-hour crash will hit you with 300 pounds of force. Lenny seems good with his kennel, but Clanky says you have to train your dog to ride in one.
It's up to us humans to keep our dogs safe. Come on.
Brian Champagne, Fox 13 News, Utah.
For many parts of the country, drought is a major problem, but in some remote areas, water is being wasted. As Joe St. George reports, advocates are now asking Congress for help.
Water, the source of life. With record droughts in many parts of the country, it's never been more valuable.
Yeah, if you know a good plumber, send him out here. We got a leak.
And that's why Gil Van Deventer is so passionate about what he does. He's a hydrogeologist. He studies where water comes from and has been working with local water conservation districts around the country since the 1980s. He says, unfortunately, in West Texas, water is uncontrollably flowing from old irrigation wells, just like this.
It was flowing to the surface at 800 gallons a minute, maybe.
No one is claiming responsibility here. No one, not even the government, is paying to plug them.
All water in West Texas is precious.
Water is spewing so rapidly, new lakes have actually been formed. Wildlife is migrating here from the Gulf Coast, which is 9 hours away.
And this is gypsum.
But Gil tells us this isn't just a story about wasting water. It's a story about how water, if not plugged or filtered properly, can actually cause more harm than good.
All right. Jeez.
Hear Gil's monitor alarm going off? That's because the water here is emitting gas considered to be unhealthy. If this water was properly filtered, you could drink it. That's not the case today.
Your alarm just went off. Are we at risk for anything?
Because of the wind out here, we're not at risk. It's okay.
While we may be okay, the landscape isn't. And being exposed to sulfate gas over time has an impact.
Vegetation's coming up so much.
He drove us to this massive lake that's been created by a separate abandoned irrigation well.
This lake has been in existence for over 20 years.
The vegetation around here dying slowly. Gil tells us the plant's roots can't take what's in the water. He fears massive contaminated lakes like this could impact all the safe drinking water nearby.
And if it does, that's kind of what could be termed as an environmental disaster.
Gil is hoping the bipartisan infrastructure package being debated in Congress will help provide money to fix old water infrastructure wells just like this. If it passes, $21 billion is slated to be allocated to environmental remediation. $55 billion is slated to go to water infrastructure. Gil knows getting that money to West Texas won't be easy, but he is sure going to try. County leaders attempted to fix the water problems here a few years ago. A massive sinkhole formed instead.
It's actually still sinking. Last I heard was about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch a month.
In Imperial, Texas, I'm Joe St. George.
Well, if you're a guy, chances are you don't like to go see the doctor. We'll take a look at why that's the case coming up in Health Watch.
I'm tracking a major heat wave and thunderstorms right now here across Utah. We're back in 60 seconds.
All right, let's face it. Some men would rather clean the bathroom or mow the lawn or even get a root canal than to go see a doctor. A recent study found men have a lot of reasons or excuses for not making that appointment.
In today's Health Watch, Mark Roper spoke with a physician about what he thinks could help men open up and talk more about their health.
Superman's weakness is kryptonite, but for the average man, his downfall often is not admitting he needs to go see a doctor.
They have a bit of a superhero complex with the hope that ailments and issues that they're dealing with will naturally get better with time or be able to get better with just things that they're doing, and may feel kind of a sense of vulnerability coming into the physician.
And Johns Hopkins Bayview Dr. Paul O'Rourke notes it's not just a myth.
A lot of studies have shown that men in particular really seem to have a lot of angst coming to doctors. There was a survey that came out of Cleveland Clinic in 2019 that showed really close to 2/3 of men in that study had stated that they prefer to avoid going to the doctor.
And even the guys who do pay their doctor a visit don't always tell the truth about everything that ails them. The same Cleveland Clinic study shows 1 out of every 3 men purposely withholds information from their doctor.
It seems like oftentimes it's issues that can be more sensitive. It may be issues related to sexual health or erectile dysfunction. But these are really important things to talk about because we recognize that, this is part of a person's overall health and well-being. And I would really want to reassure men to recognize that these medical issues that individually you may be feeling sensitive about and uncomfortable about are very common.
For some men, avoiding a medical visit isn't just about fear of embarrassment, but a fear of what a doctor may tell them.
They may feel better about thinking that, oh, a lot of these symptoms will get better with time, they'll get better on their own, and being worried that going to the doctor may cause them to face a bad diagnosis or a bad outcome.
Dr. O'Rourke is not only an associate program director at Johns Hopkins Bayview Internal Medicine Residency Program, but an assistant professor of medicine, and he hopes to play a role in changing men's health habits.
Is that a lot of men avoid going to the doctor too because of feeling judged based on their lifestyles or based on the fact that maybe they were avoiding. And one thing I like to tell my own patients, and that I'm hopeful that we're kind of changing within the medical community too, is that you do not need to in any way feel judged, that your physician, your medical team is there to partner with you.
In Maryland, I'm Mark Roper reporting.
I got a lobster roll the other day and I was like, it was like $27 or something. I was like, oh man.
Oh man is right. Going out to eat is a big vacation expense this year. Still ahead, how the supply chain is putting restaurants in a tough spot.
I'm Andrea Urban, and the Utah Warriors professional rugby team is just one win away from a playoff bid. Now, coming up in sports, I'll tell you why Saturday's game is a big one. Plus, the U.S. women's national team is playing its last game before the Olympics. And there's a familiar face on offense. How'd the women do? It's still to come in sports.
So glad you could join us for Fox 13 News Live at 5 here on July 5th, the day after the 4th of July. Meteorologist Allison Krogan will have your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
Many Americans are dealing with sticker shock at the grocery store right now. Restaurants nationwide also feeling the pinch.
Chris Conte shows us why you should be prepared to pay a little bit more for what you eat this summer.
While it may sit beside the water, not much is cooling off business at the Deck restaurant these days. But customers emerging from more than a year of COVID are being met with a bit of sticker shock.
Well, I think everything that's like vacation related is really expensive.
Miriam Moser came here with her son Eli.
I like a lobster. You like a lobster?
Little does little Eli know, that lobster he likes is going to cost his mom more. A lot more.
I got a lobster roll the other day and I was like, it was like $27 or something. I was like, oh man.
Talk about something that has a high food cost, you know, I mean, that one's off the charts. But how much can I charge for a lobster roll?
As the restaurant's owner, Mark Audette has struggled with the rising cost of food.
When I look at prior years and what my food costs were as a percentage, much higher this year. Some of it we can pass on, some of it we cannot. I mean, you know, how much can I charge for a French fry, for example?
Lobster, in particular, is more expensive this season. Limited supply, high demand, you know, the whole economics thing. Many consumers are headed back to seafood restaurants and markets for the first time in months. The cost of lobster goes up almost daily, so much so that they don't even bother writing prices on the menus here.
Demand is always there, but the pricing is always changing.
Assistant Manager Samantha Corantillo talks to enough customers to know that many of them have price limits when it comes to that lobster roll.
It's about 50-50. Some people are willing to pay and because that's what they want, and some people are more on the fence about it.
You may not even eat lobster, but what's happening to the price of this shellfish is indicative of some much larger market trends.
We really are seeing some really significant rises in food prices.
Jason Lusk is a food economist. He sees firsthand at the grocery store how much more expensive everyday items are. What's happening? Grocery prices skyrocketed when the pandemic hit and never really came back down. Feed and grain are also costing farmers more, and those costs end up being passed down to shoppers.
Demand for, meat, fish products has been surprisingly strong.
Among the most expensive items right now, rice, milk, oranges, and coffee. Americans on average spend about 10% of their income on food. But
it has really disproportionate impacts across our economy. Food price increases hit the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum much harder.
As for the price of lobster,
as the economy is opening back up, there's a lot of money and demand to be spent out there, and I think it gets spent sometimes on things like lobsters, other high-end items.
At the Deck, they've had to absorb many increases related to food costs, decreasing their bottom line. not easy after the year we just had.
I'd rather be busy and have the people come and enjoy what they're doing, and rather than price them out of the market.
One thing keeping restaurants afloat, alcohol sales. Booze hasn't been hit by the same kind of inflation. Just another year leaving restaurant owners like Mark Audette ready for a stiff drink. In Newburyport, Massachusetts, I'm Chris Conti.
Well, I guess all of us are going to have to chew a lot slower now that food is
Enjoy that bite,
expensive.
huh?
Right?
I don't know. Looking at that, it made me want a lobster roll. My goodness.
Hey, man, Freshie is about as good as you can get, especially here in Utah. So here's what I'm tracking for you on radar. We had a special weather statement for the Tremont area that expired at 5:30, but we still have the remnants of these thunderstorms that have moved through. Right now, west of I-15 near Brigham City, that's where we have some moderate rainfall. We had quite a bit of lightning. Bear Lake was a concern this afternoon as the thunderstorm rolled through about 3:30 p.m. But across most of northern Utah, we have a lot of sunshine, then a few patches of clouds. A little bit of lightning up in the Uintas this afternoon and across far eastern Utah into western Colorado, but Eureka into Nephi, things have dried out up there, and down in Bryce Canyon over towards Capitol Reef, we've had a few thunderstorms that have moved through the Escalante area. So here's what you need to know for our extended forecast. It's going to be extremely hot for quite a while. So we have an excessive heat warning for the St. George area over towards Zion National Park and then towards Lake Powell. If you're going to Lake Powell for the next several days, this will start Wednesday and take you through the weekend. I know it's a very popular time of year down there, but we'll have the heat warning, so please make sure you're being extremely careful. Areas of orange across southern Utah up through the Wellington area, over towards Capitol Reef and down towards Bryce Canyon into southeastern Washington County. We'll have heat advisories Wednesday through Sunday, Wednesday morning through Sunday night, and then for northern Utah. Northwestern Utah from the Idaho border all the way down to Beaver, right along I-15. Heat advisories will be in place from Wednesday until Thursday night. So hot temperatures in the forecast. Temperature-wise, about 90 to 100 right now here across Utah. 105 currently in St. George, and it's a bit breezy. So Evanston, Salt Lake, Delta, over towards Manti and Cedar City. Moab and Blanding, our wind is gusting about 20 to 25 miles per hour. When you wake up tomorrow morning, it'll be around 70 to 75 degrees here in Salt Lake City, making it into the mid-80s by 10 a.m. So overnight temperatures about 60 to 70 here across the state. Tomorrow afternoon, about 90 to 100, and then we have a very hot extended forecast. For the rest of tonight, we'll see our showers dying down once we get to about 9-10 o'clock tonight when that sun goes down. Come tomorrow, we could see a few showers spotty near the Nevada border and into Nevada, but Utah will mostly be staying dry. We'll keep things very dry for the next several days. So high pressure is building. There's no cool downs in sight. Our entire 7 to 10 day forecast is very hot. For St. George, you're going to be around 110 to 115. That's why you'll have that heat warning through Sunday night. A little bit cooler by next Monday, but still more than 105. For the Wasatch Front, around 100 to 105 for the next week. We'll have the heat advisory Wednesday to Thursday because we're close to 105. And then we'll have triple digits again Sunday into early next week.
If you didn't get your dose of fireworks over the weekend, or maybe you just want to see more, this Saturday, the Utah Warriors have a playoff bid on the line against one of the best teams in Major League Rugby. And following the game, a fireworks show. Now, the Warriors are riding the longest win streak in franchise history. The team had a bye this holiday weekend and will return to the field Saturday night at 8 p.m. at Zions Bank Stadium as they try and lock up the club's first playoff bid ever. And they need just one win of their final 2 games against the league's best teams. Now, if interim head coach Sean Pittman could use just one word to describe his team.
I think one word, kind of determined. I mean, you can see a lot of the guys that, you talk about Michael Baska, Calvin, who's on the USA Tours, Mika Cruz, and even the core group, Saya, who's come back from injury. Like, we're very determined as a group. And I think that's a really good quality and a dangerous quality for opposing teams. It's tough to play against a team that, you think that you played for 60 minutes and then at the last 20, you're like, well, this is going to be a completely different team. We're very determined to get to where we want to go. Teams will struggle against someone that's very determined no matter what.
And in addition to the fireworks show after the match, it is also Alumni Night in Harriman on Saturday. The Warriors honor former Utah rugby players, one being Real Salt Lake's interim president, John Kimball.
It's nice because we get to see the kind of the heritage that has, like, you know, Kimball has kind of put forth and kind of has laid the foundation for us. And the cool thing about having the alumni and having so many players in this area that have stayed here, there's just this tradition that's there and that's instantly built. Getting the chance to watch them play in an opener for the match is going to be really special. I think the community and our players are really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it. Now, we're just a little over 2 weeks away from the Tokyo Summer Olympic Games. After a year of waiting, we get to see the U.S. women's national team take the field 2 days prior to the opening ceremony in the group stage against Sweden. Today, the ladies in red, white, and blue are facing Mexico in a friendly. The USA came out strong. Here's Lindsey Horan in the 6th minute, finding the back of the net. Now, just minutes later, Carly Lloyd is going to use her head on this one. USA with a 2-0 lead only 11 minutes into the game. Now, still in the first half, Tobin Heath with the boot. And then it's the former Utah Royal Kristen Press with the putback off the Mexico's goalie for an own goal, actually. Now, one more before the break. Sam Mewis with the unselfish pass to Tobin Heath for the score. The U.S. women's national team wins it 4-0 over Mexico.
Wow.
So much fun, you guys. That's their last game before the Olympics start.
Wow, and then they had a packed stands there. That was fun.
Oh, yeah, we're back at it, and everyone's got their scarves flying high. So, Team USA, here we go.
All right. Thanks so much, Ann.
Yeah, of course.
We'll be right back. Down into the 70s tonight, Allison.
Yes, not cooling off too much, so we'll need the air conditioning even tonight.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks so much for joining us for Fox 13 News Live at 5.
We'll see you back here at 9 o'clock.